Almost with season 2 of Strange New Worlds, it's not quite the pattern, but it's almost the pattern that every other episode is at least one that tries. Never quite seal the deal. Certainly in line with the standards that original Star Trek set, and by original I mean the whole, the pre-2009 era on to now. But that's not quite accurate. I mean, the first 2 episodes were really bad. I guess the first one wasn't as bad as the second one. And then it was the third one that was interesting, even though it's a bit of a ripoff of at least other Trek stuff. But it had some interesting elements to it, most notably the admission that this is indeed an alternate timeline and all that sort of stuff. Then you had the fourth one, which is still, and I'm going to review this one, but still, that one, the Lotus Eaters, that's their best one, and it's the best one of both seasons. So this one, Under the Cloak of War, and it was alluded to earlier when Chapel and Mbenga took the super soldier serum. So now we learn where he first did that in this story, and it is an episode that at least tries, and I don't think it seals the deal. And it's kind of sad because the guy playing Mbenga, when he gets an opportunity, I mean, he had some stupid storylines. I don't like the way they handled the deal with his daughter and how he just lets her go to this cloud entity and all that. That was just terrible. Just he wouldn't do that. But the actor playing him is actually pretty good. You give him the opportunity and you have some stuff. And there's some moments here that's pretty good. Chapel does all right. The two of them were during the Klingon War, which the biggest kick you out of the story is they use footage from Star Trek Discovery. You really don't want to mention that garbage. But they have to because they're still maintaining the connection there. And this refers to the war that the Federation had with the Klingons that, Michael Burnham started. That's why they think she's such a great hero, because she started a war with the Klingons. All right, look, the Klingons wanted the war anyway, but still. But the problem already, just stylistically, the footage of those Klingons look nothing like the Klingons you see here, which look a lot like, more, at least closer, certainly, to the Klingons you've seen in, the classic shows, except, the original series, but, Next Generation and the movies and whatnot. So it's like, wow, boy, I wonder what happened. Well, the companies merged back and now they can use those. Yeah. So this is the deal. They're veterans of that war, and they've already established that the Enterprise was not involved in the war, so they weren't aboard the Enterprise at the time this happened. And so Dr. Mbenga and Christine Chapel were in this field base, and Clint Howard makes an appearance. No relation to the alien he'll play. Little baby-looking alien in the original Star Trek. But he just, it's a cameo thing and all of that. And it's just, these are flashbacks to the war, and it's detailing how brutal it was and it still lingers onto them. And so the mission they're currently on is that they're hosting this Klingon who defected to the Federation and is going around trying to develop peaceful relations between the two entities. Although him defecting, I don't think the Klingons would want to hear anything from him. But the whole time it's hinting, what's the real story? There's something about this. And for the most part, it just seems to insinuate they're very uncomfortable being in the presence of this Klingon. And Ortega, she was also in the war. She just wasn't a part of this particular battle that Mbenga and Chapel were in. And so the story goes that this Klingon defected, and when he found out that his own men were going to slaughter everybody else on this planet, he turned on them and killed them all, and then defected to the Federation and all that. Well, guess what? There's a twist at the ending. That's not the true story. And so they get to it, but it just doesn't quite pay off. They show a lot of, they do emotion scenes, and oh gee, it's tough, and there's a patient they lose, and once again they put someone in the transporter buffer, but later on they got more wounded coming, and they're just going to have to make room, so the doctor has to delete the pattern and bring in the other, and it's just a slaughterhouse. It's terrible and gruesome, and it's breaking Chapel and Mbenga and all that stuff. And then eventually Mbenga's had enough, and he takes the super soldier drug, which, I think, the Andorian was saying, hey, we need a little help. Maybe give us something a little extra. And, I'm not doing it. Well, I'll give it to myself. And he goes full on super soldier on the Klingons and slaughters them. Wait a minute. I thought the Klingon did that when he no, he didn't. He was actually the commander who had ordered the genocidal massacre, and Mbenga just didn't get to him in time and wiped out all the other Klingon officers, and that was the real story. At the end, he's confronted with the Klingon, and they struggle over the Klingon knife that Mbenga kept all this time, and Mbenga kills him. Chapel walks in on this, and she says, well, it was self-defense, and so they go with that. Now, this Klingon, keep in mind, walks with a cane, even though he does a little sparring match with Mbenga earlier. So this is a good way to relieve stress and stuff, because he's trying to pass himself off as this peaceful guru guy, but he's got a bit of a belly, and plus he does need the aid of a cane when he's walking around and all that. So at Mbenga, he's in great shape. And so I don't think the Klingon was that much of a match for him. But hey, considering how horrible the battle was, and how it weighs on him, and there's scenes of him sort of breaking down in the sonic shower. You get the idea of what the position he's in, and he keeps telling the Klingon to leave him alone. But the Klingon wants to make sure his position and status is maintained, which is pretty much all he wants, because he's basically just a politician. So he wants to make sure his lies are protected. So anyway, that's it for the evil Klingon, and Mbenga does him in. Chapel says, yeah, it was self-defense. Now, granted, they would have known their records, and that she's a bit too biased here, that she would protect Mbenga. But Pike's like, we'll go with that. So anyway, the performances, like I said, the Mbenga especially, he does very well, and all of that, but it's like the plotting and whatnot just doesn't come together. It's not as cohesive. And in better hands, it probably would have been an okay episode, especially just a nod to, the horrors of war and how it weighs in on them, and how you can't possibly explain it to someone who wasn't there, and that sort of thing. And that's why, he and the Chapel understand it. But then there's the obligatory stuff of Spock. So now he's dating Christine, he's trying to be of help to her, and she brushes him off and all this stuff. It's like, boy, just like a woman. After chasing him and chasing him and chasing him, he gives in, and then she's got no time for him whatsoever. But it's just, it was the emphasize, like, well, you weren't there, you don't understand, and all that sort of thing. Still, it's like, you don't have to be that rude to Spock. Jeez. But anyway, basically, Mbenga steals the show in that story. But again, it just doesn't play out well and come together. And it's just too bad. But comparatively, it's certainly better than the last episode. But still, it doesn't beat the Lotus Eaters episode, which was, for all intents and purposes, your basic template of a Star Trek show. This one could be too, in a sense, but I think you did need to actually see the killing. I mean, there's brief snippets and scenes rather, of him doing it, but you don't really see it all. I don't know why they couldn't. I mean, I realize they're shooting everything on the green screen. They're on the planet. You got the base. That's the Federation base that they're operating out of, and the wars going on around them, the explosions and stuff like that. But couldn't you have just moved a few props around to make it look like the Klingon base? You could have done it, but okay. So yeah, it's a bunch of conversations and soap opera like drama, and it's a bit too much of that, and it drags the show that could have been somewhat compelling. It's not this great wonder and, oh my goodness, that's not what really happened and all that sort of stuff. You knew something of that. Now, although with this show, I kind of wonder, man, are they going to drop the ball on that too? But no, they didn't. They just didn't do it very well. So I guess, let's see. So far, second best episode for this one. Lotus Eaters is the top. And of course, Lotus Eaters, as I'm thinking now, is the best of the whole damn series. Followed distantly by the Tomorrow episode, only because of the performances between Kirk and Lady Khan. They kind of sold it as far as the romance goes. But that's about it. Yeah. Well, that's too bad. But at least it's not STD. I saw it's Carol Roberts, who comments a lot on my videos, which I appreciate. That's nice. Was saying like STD was probably better than Strange New Worlds. No. The levels here, the metrics, what you want to use here is Strange New Worlds is basically junior high level of theatrical intellect as far as the writing and the plotting approaches this. Whereas STD, well, that was daycare level. Yeah, they're all clapping their hands and going, yay! That's literally what they would do in that show. So, no. Strange New Worlds would have to really work hard. And they may do it with the next episode with the singing and stuff to get to STD level. But anyway. So, there you go. Under the Cloak of War.